Hey friends. A couple weeks ago, my friend, who is a school librarian, asked me to come talk to a fifth grade class about art journaling. So I came out and we talked a lot about techniques and about supplies. And I think I endeared myself to them because I talked about using water soluble media to write down all the thoughts that they need to get out of their head, and then using water to obliterate that so their journaling would be secret. Like, I think they thought that was the coolest thing. And I told them how to keep their journaling secret. And then I took out my supplies and I showed them my pen roll, and they lit up. So, this past weekend, my librarian friend and I got together and we sewed extra compartments in a big stack of aprons, and we brought those to the school today and let the kids decorate them using fabric paint and stencils and scraps of fabric and tacky glue. And I think it's probably safe to say that the kids had a ball. And if you don't mind getting a little messy and doing a little bit of prep work, I think this is a great project to do with a bunch of kids. And it's a great way to support and encourage the young artists in your life. And I'm coming back out to this class in a couple of weeks because the school secretary and the librarian and I have collected some supplies that they'll get to fill these up with. In particular, I've got water brushes for everybody and binder clips because that's still one of my most useful art supply tools. And I think that the school secretary has collected some watercolor pencils for them. So they get lots of goodies. It's going to be an early Christmas. The whole experience was so fun, and it really made me reflect on my own tools and supplies and what I love most about them and why and how I hold on to them. So I'm going to show you my everyday journaling supplies and my pen roll right now. And my hands are still painty from that experience. So I'm going to walk you through the journaling supplies that I use every single day. And I do journal every day. It's the only way that I can journal. I have to do it every day to be consistent. It just won't work any other way for me. So this is a Delphonics size M pouch. Of course, you've probably seen this in many videos, and all of my stuff, my core tools fit in here, which is great. I do, of course, still have a full Raskog of other stuff that I will use on occasion, just for fun, but the stuff that I actually use every single day on every single page is in here. And everybody who does a video involving a Delphonics pouch at some point ends up holding it like this. So let me just get that out of the way. It's so cute. This patch is by Crystal Moody Art and Design, and I think I got this pin, which is so true, from two Belmont sisters, and those are both local businesses to me. So that's my Delphonics size M. I don't have anything in the outer pockets right now. I'm kind of paranoid about them slipping out, but I was also paranoid about this enamel pin falling off, and that has yet to happen. So sturdier than you may think. First up, my traveler's notebook fits in there nicely, even with everything else. That's the great thing about a standard size. I could not do that with an A5, even though I love the A5 size. So you guys have already seen this. I've got my wallet in there. I've got my Traveler's Company fountain pen, which is probably the only fountain pen I'll use for the rest of my life. I love it so much. And then my current insert is Tomoe River paper, and I'll talk about that when I do a flip, when I get to the very end of it. So next, I'm going to save this for last. This is what made the fifth graders gasp and light up and get all excited. I do use a photo every day in my journal, so I have an HP sprocket in there. And if I was traveling, this has its own case that's like padded and hard shell and everything, so that keeps it really safe. But for the most part, I just leave it in here and take it out when I need it. Lots of ways to get your photos into your journal. HP sprocket is just the way I do mine. I have a couple little tins. They both involve stamping. That's it for my Delphonics pouch. This tin has my alphabet and number stamps. These used to be rubber stamps on wood blocks. I took them off. I put foam backing on them,
and I coated them with rubber cement, which is not a great option, but I don't have local access to Aleene's Tack It, which is the recommended paint for turning rubber stamps into cling stamps. Otherwise, aside from having to touch up the rubber cement every once in a while, they work really well. These down here came off of this rolling stamp. I just cut that side off and converted those into my day stamps. I am still going to keep this because I do like the typewriter font on the dates. I have so many date stamps. I also like this one because it goes up a lot later than my other date stamps do. There are still date stamps for sale that stop at like 2019. You still see those in the store, which is weird to me. Anyway, these are the cling stamps that I use, and they fit very nicely inside this tin. And that allows me to do date stamps on all of my entries that are big and graphical and really cool, and I'll show you that style later on because I do still have a video planned to show you how I use my tape to do double duty. And then for those stamps, I have my archival ink in here, and then some replacement Noodler's Lexington Gray ink in case my fountain pen runs out while I'm on the road. And I've taken a small converter and I've attached the needle nose attachment from a Jane Davenport dropper bottle for her inks. So cheapest possible way to get a needle nose attachment. And that is my refill system for my fountain pen. Because it does not take a converter inside my tiny Traveler's Notebook fountain pen. So I have to use a converter to fill an old mini refill. Usually this closes. Of course it doesn't right now. There we go. There we go. I was planning to turn this tin into a watercolor tin. I'll show you another mint tin, watercolor tin in another video too. But in the end, I really like the design and I ended up using it for my inks instead. Okay, Delphonics out of the way. This pen roll is based on the Superior Labor pen roll, which of course I've seen through Courtney Diaz's videos as well as several other stationery aficionados. And I really loved it, but I don't have, spare however much to spend on a leather thing that I did try to make it myself out of leather first, and it didn't work very well because I don't have an industrial sewing machine. But then I turned around and I made this out of canvas. This is an old strap from an old pair of boots that I loved until they died, and I kept the straps because I like to use them for other things. And then we open it up. I waxed this canvas myself so it is mildly water resistant. I keep my binder clips here, and here's the stuff. Here's the goods. Don't damage the goods, man. I swear, I opened this up in that library class and they all just lit up. It was great. I was like, yes, that's right. So my watercolor tin, I have ordered a new tin that has 3 dividers on the top as opposed to 2. Other than that, it's not a huge improvement. This is what that looks like. I also have another video planned about how I do my watercolor pans and why I do them that way. That fits nicely in that pocket. This is a system I saw on Flickr. I will link it below. This holds the watercolor tin and slides into whichever book you're using. Close it, open it to the next free page, and now I have my paints stuck to my book. Obviously this is better for smaller tins that don't have a fold-out section, but I keep it there because it does work with this one as well under certain circumstances, especially with bigger books. So that helps. Stick those back in. My travel brush collection, I have 2 Escodas currently in here. A number 6, number 6. Number 12. I don't use them very often because they are too pointed for me, but what I do use all the time, basically every day, is my number 8 Silver Black Velvet. think their travel brush line is called the Voyage, or just Voyage, you know, if you're not fancy in French. And then for details, I will use a very loose number 2, also a silver black velvet. And this is actually the best brush I've ever found for glazing. It does not lift, even with my cheapest paints, even on the cheapest paper, even on the best paper with my best paints. It does not lift what's underneath. It just glazes beautifully. It is very loose in the canister though. I should probably replace that soon. Makes it very difficult to get it out of the tiny pockets. And then I'll go to the other side because just the other day I modified a water brush. This is the top of a Tim Holtz wide water brush, angle shader or chisel, however you want to call it. But it's one that the Ranger Tim Holtz line sells. And then the bottom is from a Faber-Castell water brush that has the piston to refill, which is really nice. And it's got the push button to actually let the water out. So this is the lowest flow water brush that I've been able to find. And as I develop more water control, more brush control, and more working with ratios, I need a low flow water brush because every other water brush just drips like crazy and it floods and it doesn't allow me to do the kind of painting that I want to do. So this one is one that I just modified the other day and it's been working really well so far. So hot tip, the Faber-Castell piston bottom fits the Tim Holtz chisel top. And then this actually seats like it did not seat on the original bottom for the chisel top. So that is that. Those are my brushes. I like to use this one when I don't feel like getting out water in a cup for these because I don't have space to put a cup in this thing. I'd have to have a cup somewhere else in my bag and not in my Delphonics because I don't have space in there either. So moving over from brushes, I have cut a reusable plastic straw in half, and that is where I keep my kneadable eraser. It's very convenient. I have some of those fancy, cute scissors from Japanese stationery dealers. Those are so useful and handy. And then I have the planner glue pen from Prima. Yeah, from Prima. These come in a 3-pack, and it's the only solid glue pen that I've found that actually fits in here. I cannot put a regular Elmer's glue stick in here. It would take up an entire compartment to itself. So anytime I need to glue something down, that is what I use. Over here, I have a Graph Gear 500 0.7 mechanical pencil, which has purple lead inside of it. I'll erase that later. That's good for base sketches. It erases easily. I'm going to skip over to my other mechanical pencil. I found this in Omoizaka in Philadelphia. And I had wanted a wood-barreled pencil that was at least 2 millimeters, and I had looked everywhere on the internet, and I didn't think it existed. And then I walked into this store and I found this, and it felt like I was in a dream. The whole store felt like I was in a dream, but this was just like, it's real. So that's very handy for bigger sketches and for any time I want to be a little bit looser and a little bit messier in my sketching, and that's just regular graphite in there. In between them for my lining, currently I just switched out to this. I have the cheapest possible fountain pen and also one of my favorite fountain pens because this nib is incredibly flexible, and I have filled it with fountain pen India ink, which is a real thing you can buy. You can't use regular India ink in a fountain pen, but you can buy India ink that does not have shellac and that is specifically made for fountain pens. So it is waterproof and permanent and light fast and all of those good things. And because this nib is so flexible, I can do very thin lines and I can do very thick lines, sometimes in one stroke, just varying my pressure. So I'll let you know how that works out. I think it's going to go well. I replaced both a Faber-Castell Pitt pen extra small for my super thin lines, which is how I've enjoyed sketching in my journal lately, And I replaced the Pentel brush pen, which I really, really wanted to learn to use. It just wasn't working for me, and it didn't seem to fit into my journaling. So to get the thicker lines, I can still use this, which is what I would have used the brush pen for, and it also is comparable in its thinnest mode, comparable to the Faber-Castell Pitt pen, extra small. And then finally, over here next to that water brush is just a regular old jelly roll. Actually, this is a 08, which may be a thicker one. I don't know, I think it's just the regular size. Anytime I need to add white accents, or if my background is too dark and my fountain pen doesn't show up, I'll go over it with the gel pen to make it pop. So that's what I got. That's what I use every single day. And this is how I keep it. And it's been working out really well for me. I've been using this kit for over 6 months. I couldn't say how long exactly. Definitely more than 6 months. And really enjoying it. I sewed it first and then I waxed the canvas, and you can still see the shine of a little bit of wax on it. Most of it has soaked in completely, but there are places where it's just a little bit shiny. And it folds up so nicely, and it's so convenient for when I'm out and about. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment letting me know what your favorite everyday supplies are and how you store them. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Some people just want to watch dots burn.